Have you ever woken up feeling empty? Not from lack of sleep, but from lack of purpose to rise. Your body isn't tired, but your mind feels heavy as stone. You curl under the blanket not out of laziness, but from a quiet uncertainty. Am I living in the right direction? Yesterday passed as if it never existed, and now you fear today might do the same. We don't lose our potential in one dramatic moment. It fades little by little when we live without asking why, when we repeat old habits without resistance. But Stoicism does not allow us to drift like that. This philosophy reminds us, each day is a chance to choose ourselves again, to train the inner life, to act with intention rather than react by default. You don't need a dramatic event to begin the change. You only need one decision, not to let today vanish like yesterday. And that's where we begin with 13 lessons to compel ourselves to grow, one day at a time. 1. The value of a day. There's a truth we rarely dare to face. Most of life isn't stolen by tragedy, it leaks away through unconsciousness. The days you wake up, rush through breakfast, work like a machine, drift through the afternoon without knowing what you're chasing. Those are the days quietly eroding your life. Not because you're not trying, but because you never pause to see, how much is today truly worth? You don't need to look far to see the consequences. Think of the nights you lie in bed, and a hollow feeling spreads through your body. You're not in pain, yet nothing feels worth being proud of. Day after day passes without leaving a trace, just a blur of faint memories. You tell yourself there's still time, that tomorrow is a guarantee. But has anyone promised us we'll see another sunrise? Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor, but above all, a man deeply aware of life's fragility, once wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, remember what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to feel, to give." He didn't write that to romanticize reality. He wrote it to remind himself, life is not a given, it's a gift, and that gift is being offered to you each and every day. Maybe you're waiting for Monday to live with intention, waiting for next month to exercise, waiting until there's more time to write that book you've always dreamed of. But the day you're waiting for may never come. And right now, you're standing between two simple choices: to make this day meaningful, or to let another piece of time slip into oblivion. No one is asking you to do something extraordinary today. But if you can dedicate 1 hour to something that truly matters, if you dare to face something you've always avoided, if you simply take one step forward, then today will no longer be just another day. It becomes the first brick in a life you'll be proud to look back on. Ask yourself, when the sun sets today, what do I want to feel? Relief from avoiding all responsibility, or peace from having lived rightly? You can't control how fast time passes, but you can decide that today will no longer pass meaninglessly. And if you're truly serious, the journey doesn't have to begin tomorrow. It begins the very next morning you choose to live with intention. 2. The greatest limitation is yourself. There is one thing holding you back in life, and it isn't your circumstances, your age, or the number in your bank account. It's that quiet voice inside your head whenever you're about to do something important. I'm not good enough. I'm going to fail. Others will always do better than me. You may call it caution, reason, or humility, but in truth, it's fear disguised in polite language. We grow up in a society that glorifies winners, yet plants a twisted belief in the minds of ordinary people that success is a privilege reserved for those born to shine. That there's a certain kind of person meant to succeed, and you're not one of them. Sadly, most people accept that without protest, as if they have no right to step onto the stage of life. But that isn't true. it was never true. Epictetus, a philosopher who began life as a slave, lived and proved an undeniable truth. Circumstances don't make the man, they only reveal him to himself. You don't become stronger when things go smoothly. You only see your strength when you're backed into a corner and still choose to stand. I once knew a single mother raising 2 young children in a rented apartment. She worked 2 jobs a day, studied at night, not because someone cheered her on or promised a reward, but because she believed she deserved a better future. No excuses, just action, just faith, not in perfection, but in progress, inch by inch. And she made it not through luck, but by refusing to accept the label of ordinary the world tried to give her. You have that voice in your head too, but you're not obligated to listen. Every time you act while still afraid, you carve out a new path for yourself. And every time you delay because you don't feel ready, you build another wall inside your mind. Look at yourself now. No comparisons. Just ask, am I holding myself back? If the answer is yes, then you've found your only real enemy and also the only person who has the power to change the game. Because the real limits don't exist out there. They live within you, and you are the only one who can break them. 3. Investing in yourself is a profoundly selfless act. There's a strange paradox. When you begin investing in your own growth, the people around you may call it selfish. When you say no to a pointless meeting so you can go to the gym, they say you're becoming distant. When you leave toxic relationships to heal, they say you're too sensitive. When you spend weekends reading, learning, and resting instead of pleasing others, they think you're self-centered. But they're wrong, very wrong. No one can pour from an empty cup. No one can care for a family, work effectively, or love someone deeply when they're exhausted, chaotic, and hollow inside. Sadly, we've grown so used to self-sacrifice that we mistake burnout for kindness, stress for duty, and ignoring our own needs as a noble virtue. But the truth is the opposite. Only when you prioritize your own well-being can you give deeply, sustainably, and without losing yourself. Marcus Aurelius, who once bore the weight of an entire empire, wrote to himself, "Strengthen your body and mind, for everything else rests upon those 2 foundations." Not because he wanted to be superior, but because he understood. If he crumbled, the nation would too. And so it is with you. You may not rule a kingdom, but you are in charge of a life your own. And if you don't make time to recover, to learn, to set boundaries, to renew yourself, you'll become nothing more than a shadow of who you could have been. I once watched a woman work full-time, raise 2 children, and care for her ailing mother. Every night, after the kids were asleep and her mother was resting, she would quietly open her laptop, study a few English lessons, read a few pages, write a few lines in her journal, just a little each night. But a year later, she earned a scholarship, landed a new job, and more importantly, she became radiant, calm, and resilient. She didn't abandon anyone. She simply stopped abandoning herself. If you're waiting for someone to give you permission to put yourself first, this is your permission. Not to escape responsibility, but to finally fulfill it with presence, energy, and gratitude. Investing in yourself is not selfish. It is the greatest gift you can offer the people you love. 4. Small progress compounds into great results. People often admire dramatic breakthroughs, stunning comebacks, and impressive transformations, but they forget a fundamental truth. Everything great starts small. No storm begins with thunder. It begins with the silent buildup of gentle winds. And so it is with people. I once worked with a man who lost 30 kilograms. When asked about his secret, he didn't speak of extreme diets or miraculous workouts. He simply said, "I started by replacing milk coffee with water. Then I walked for 10 minutes each morning. The rest just built from there." Nothing magical, just a string of small choices, repeated with remarkable consistency. James Clear once said, "If you improve by 1% every day, after a year, you'll be 37 times better." That's not some miracle math. It's the honesty of time combined with perseverance. And Marcus Aurelius, centuries before, understood this when he wrote, "Nothing great happens suddenly. Trees need time to root, just as people need time to grow." We often quit, not because the goal is too hard, but because we try to walk the whole road in one step. When you say, "I'm going to write a book," your mind envisions 200 pages, hundreds of hours, endless revisions, and so you never write the first line. But if you set a goal of writing 100 words a day, just a short paragraph, something strange happens. You begin, and what is begun can be finished. Don't underestimate the power of small actions. A phone call to repair a relationship, 5 minutes of meditation during a busy day, saying no to a slice of cake when you're working on your health. These acts may not earn admiration, but they quietly shape who you're becoming. You don't need to change the world today. You only need to change yourself just a little. And if you're still unsure, ask yourself, how many years did it take to form the habits you have now? Then why believe you must change your life in just a few days? True progress doesn't come from rushing. It comes from resilient repetition. So don't try to do everything at once. Just start and keep repeating the right thing every day until even you are surprised by who you've become. 5. Systems are stronger than willpower. We often believe successful people have iron willpower. They wake early, eat clean, work hard, stay steady, and so we blame ourselves when we fail. "I'm not disciplined enough. I'm too weak." But this is a dangerous misconception. In truth, people who maintain good habits don't do so because they have stronger will. They design systems that make doing the right thing easier than quitting. Think back to the goals you failed to keep. Daily workouts, learning a new language, quitting social media. It wasn't that you didn't want to. You simply relied entirely on motivation. You waited for a motivated version of yourself to show up and rescue you from procrastination. But as Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Don't depend on a favorable wind, adjust your sails." Willpower is the wind. Systems are the sail. And if you only wait for the wind, you'll never go anywhere. I used to fail at writing every morning, even though I knew I needed it. I set alarms, promised myself 30 minutes a day, but I kept failing until I changed my approach. I placed a notebook and pen next to the coffee pot. I taped a note to the wall. It doesn't need to be good, it just needs to begin. And I allowed myself to write anything so long as I didn't touch my phone first. After 1 week, I no longer needed to try. Writing became as natural as brushing my teeth, no willpower required, only presence. You can do this too. Want to drink more water? Don't wait until you're thirsty. Place a water bottle where you work. Want to learn a new language? Don't force an hour of study. Just commit to 10 minutes after brushing your teeth, one habit stacked on another. This is called habit stacking, building a new habit on top of an old one already ingrained. Seneca once said, "What is repeated frequently becomes character." What you repeat daily, no matter how small, will shape your future self. Willpower is only the tool to start. But systems are what keep you going, even on days when you want to do nothing at all. So, instead of asking, "How do I get more motivated?" ask, How do I make the right thing easier? When your system works, you don't have to conquer yourself every day. You just enter the flow and let the inertia of discipline pull you toward the better version of who you are. 6. Discomfort is the compass for growth. Most of us aren't trapped by our circumstances, but by our comfort. We choose what's familiar, not because it's best, but because it's predictable. A boring but safe job. Shallow but easy relationships. Bad habits that feel natural. We don't live the life we want simply because our current life isn't inconvenient enough to force us to change. But what if discomfort itself is the signal you're meant to move toward? What if the place you feel fear, hesitation, resistance, is the very place you need to step into? Seneca once wrote, "No soul becomes strong in comfort. It is fire, it is cold, it is hunger, it is loss." This is where courage is forged. The things that make you uncomfortable are not punishments. They are invitations to rise above an old version of yourself. I remember the first time I was asked to speak in front of more than 50 people. My hands trembled, my voice cracked, my mind screamed, "Don't do this!" Every instinct told me to decline, make an excuse, or step back, but I stepped forward. And in the moment I spoke my first sentence, the fear began to dissolve. Not because it vanished, but because I stopped running from it. Since then, every time I feel discomfort, I don't retreat. I listen, because I know discomfort is the compass pointing toward growth. If you want to become stronger, start with the small things that make you flinch. A call you've been avoiding, a no you're scared to say, waking early when your body craves more sleep. Each is a moment of training with yourself. And the beautiful truth is, the more you enter discomfort, the more resilient, steady, and confident you become. You can't control every challenge that comes your way, but you can choose how to see it. If you view discomfort as something to avoid, you'll spend your life in a fragile shell. But if you see it as a sign you're touching a boundary meant to be broken, then every discomfort becomes a silent guide on your path to growth. So next time you feel uneasy, hesitant, or tempted to withdraw, don't step back. Pause, take a deep breath, and ask, could this be the place I need to go? And if the answer is yes, then even if your steps tremble, step forward. Because what's waiting for you beyond discomfort isn't failure. It's a version of you that's far stronger than you ever imagined. 7. Don't live for applause. There is a kind of emptiness that's hard to name, the kind that appears after you've achieved something, only to realize no one cares. No applause. No recognition. No one sees the effort you poured into it, and in that moment you begin to wonder, why did I do all this? Was it worth it if no one noticed? We live in an age where personal worth is tethered to likes, compliments, and public metrics. But when you act only to be acknowledged, you've unconsciously surrendered your inner sovereignty. You let your emotions be steered by the gaze of others. And the danger is, recognition is never enough. Today you're praised. Tomorrow, if no one pays attention, you'll feel emptier than ever. Marcus Aurelius, amidst the splendor of court and the voices of thousands cheering, still wrote in his private journal, "Don't expect glory from the crowd. Hope only that you yourself live worthy of what's right." He didn't act to be praised. He acted because it was the right thing to do. The highest respect comes not from applause, but from the integrity of your own conscience. I once shared an article I believed was meaningful. After posting it, no one liked it, not a single comment, not a word in response. I was disappointed. Until months later, someone quietly messaged, "That post helped me through a crisis. Thank you for not deleting it." and I realized, you'll never know the full reach of what you do if you only look at surface reactions. If today you're learning, building, quietly chasing something no one else sees, remember, you don't live to be praised. You live to become the person you were meant to be. The true reward isn't in being seen. It's in keeping your promises to yourself even when no one's watching. Working in silence is a noble kind of strength, because those who act only when praised are performers, not participants. But those who keep going in quiet persistence are laying down a foundation of real value, unmoved by the silence of others. Live in a way you'd be proud of, even when no one is watching. Because when the lights go down, what remains isn't applause. It's the peace within, knowing you did what was right, regardless of who was paying attention. 8. Stop comparing. Run your own race. You're running your race, steady breath, strong strides. But then you glance left, someone's running faster. You look right, someone seems effortlessly fresh. Suddenly, your pace falters. Not because you're tired, but because you've lost your rhythm. That's what comparison does. It doesn't make you better. It disconnects you from yourself. We don't compare ourselves to others when we're improving. We do it when we feel inadequate, but instead of using that feeling to grow, we let it fuel inferiority. We shrink into silence, watching others succeed, appear happy, seem whole. And in those appearances, we forget we're only seeing the surface. No one shares their collapse. No one live streams failure. No one posts a blurry photo of their loneliness. Epictetus once said something simple, yet profound. Don't waste energy on what you can't control. Use it to improve yourself. Comparison in all its forms is a brutal misuse of energy. You can't stay focused on your steps while staring at someone else's path. I remember once working on a manuscript and feeling proud until I read another author's work. Deeper, sharper, more celebrated. In that moment, I felt absurdly small. I nearly tossed my pages out, but then it struck me. That author didn't write to stop me. They wrote to finish their race, and my job wasn't to catch up, it was to keep writing, to stay true to the journey I had chosen. If you keep measuring your worth by someone else's pace, you'll never realize how far you've already come. Each person has their own terrain, their own starting point, their own kind of obstacle. Comparison is a subtle form of denying your own path. And no journey is meaningless if you're still moving forward, even slowly. So instead of asking, "Why am I not there yet?" ask, "How far have I come from yesterday?" Real progress isn't about overtaking others. It's about no longer being held back by the doubts you once believed. Keep your eyes forward, the only direction you truly control, and keep running on your own road. 9. Quality time is the rarest gift. There's a kind of presence that makes others feel loved, heard, and seen. And there's a kind that makes them feel lonelier than being alone. The difference isn't in being physically there. It's in being truly present. Today, everyone's busy. Everyone's scheduled. Everyone says we should spend more time together while checking phones, scrolling feeds, interrupting to reply to some urgent message. But the truth is, if everything is always urgent, then nothing is truly important. One day you'll wake up, and the people once beside you will be gone, and you won't remember the last time you really listened to them. Seneca once wrote, "It's not that we have too little time, but that we waste so much of it." He wasn't promoting urgency, but inviting depth. It's not about spending more hours with those we love. It's about showing up fully undistracted, wholehearted even for 1 hour. I once had dinner with an old friend I hadn't seen in years. There was good wine, great food, warm lighting, but the conversation was fragmented. Every time I tried to speak honestly, his phone lit up, and he'd just check quickly. After an hour, I left early. Not out of anger, but because I saw clearly, sometimes the body is present, but the mind has wandered elsewhere. And when that happens, time isn't a gift. It's just a ticking clock counting down meaninglessly. We've forgotten how to sit together without devices. Forgotten how to walk without needing noise. Forgotten that an attentive glance, a sincere question, a silent handhold can carry more weight than 1,000 words. If you want to improve your life, start by improving the quality of your time. When dining with family, put the phone away. When speaking with someone, look into their eyes. When spending time with yourself, don't rush to fill the silence. Because in a world where everyone can talk anytime, complete presence, even for a few minutes, is the rarest and most precious gift you can offer. And sometimes, it's also the gift you must learn to offer yourself. 10. Self-development is not selfish. How many times have you hesitated to sign up for a course because you were afraid of being seen as ambitious? How many times have you canceled a workout because a loved one urgently needed your help? How many moments alone have you skipped because you felt guilty, as if you were being selfish? Society teaches us that a kind person is someone who always gives, who's always available when needed, who always puts others first. But what it doesn't say is that if you keep giving without keeping anything for yourself, there will come a time when you're drained, both in body and soul. We confuse selflessness with self-destruction. We think sacrificing ourselves is a sign of love, forgetting that true love begins with respect for oneself. How can you guide others through darkness if you're lost yourself? How can you inspire if your mind is always tired, confused, and directionless? Seneca once said, "To help others, you must first make yourself strong." No one climbs a mountain for you, and you can't carry anyone if your own legs are trembling. To lift others, you must first stand firm. I once knew a young father who worked 10 hours a day, then came home to play with his kids, clean the house, and stay up late doing chores. When his wife suggested he take some time for himself, he smiled sadly. "I don't have the right to rest." A few months later, he broke down. Not because he didn't love his family, but because he had been living as if he didn't matter. And it was then he realized, if he couldn't care for himself, he couldn't be the husband or father he wanted to be. Self-development isn't about retreating from the world. It's how you prepare to contribute to the world more responsibly and sustainably. You study so you have wisdom to share. You rest so you have energy to give. You set boundaries so love doesn't turn into obligation. If someone says you've changed, smile and say, "Thank you, that was the goal." You're not here to stay the same just to make others comfortable. You're here to grow, to tap into the potential you were given, and to share the fruits of that growth in a deeper, more lasting way. Self-development isn't a selfish act. It's a moral duty. Because only when you become your best self can you offer the best of yourself to the world. 11. Don't overthink. Just begin. Have you ever sat with an idea, a decision, a dream, only to end up doing nothing? Not because you didn't want to, but because you wanted to think a little more. You wanted to wait until you felt more confident, had more time, felt less anxious, and so you kept analyzing, kept weighing, kept stepping back. But maybe you already know. The longer you think, the deeper you sink into inaction. In thought, everything appears more complicated than it really is. Starting a project might just mean opening your laptop and typing the first line. Calling to apologize might take only 30 seconds. Changing your life might begin with one very small step, but you don't do it because you want to be sure you're ready. The truth is, no one is ever truly ready for the most important things in life, and no one needs to be ready to begin. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Don't keep talking about how to be a good person. Be one." You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need more proof before you act. You only need to begin. When you act, you learn. When you delay, you only make the idea heavier. I once met a girl who carried the manuscript of her first novel for 2 years, revising it endlessly, afraid to submit it and be rejected. One day she asked herself, "Am I trying to write a good book or trying to avoid the feeling of failure?" She sent it off in silence. No praise, no miracle happened, but for the first time in her life, she felt free. Not because of success, but because she had finally crossed that thin line between intention and action. If you find yourself stuck in the land of endless preparation, remember this simple rule: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, do it now. Count down in your head, and before your brain invents a reason to delay, take the step, make the call, write the first sentence, send the email, sign up for the class. Just one concrete action, because you don't change your life through clever thoughts. You change it through action, no matter how small, how clumsy, but real. Don't let imaginary perfection rob you of real beginnings. Don't wait to be ready to move forward. Move forward and you'll discover that readiness comes after the first step. 12. Discipline is the backbone of transformation. Motivation is like a flame. It blazes brightly for a few minutes, dazzling but short-lived. Discipline, though, is the slow-burning coal that keeps the fire alive through the night. People are often drawn to inspiration. A powerful video, a stirring book, an exciting new day. But those things won't save you on a groggy Tuesday morning when you don't want to get out of bed. They won't pull you through a heavy, rainy afternoon when no one is cheering you on. Only discipline, like a quiet friend, can walk you all the way down the path. Discipline is not rigid harshness. It is the kindest act you can do for yourself. It is the promise you keep with your future, even when the present feels hard. It is doing what's right, even when no one is urging you, no one is watching, no one is applauding. Epictetus once said, "Nothing great is created without discipline." That doesn't mean you have to live stiffly or lose joy. It means you commit to building yourself one step a day, one habit a week, one promise a month, until you become living proof that change is real. I once knew a friend who started from zero. No knowledge, no special talent, no one to support him. But he had one thing: discipline. Up at 5 a.m. every morning. Wrote one page each day. Learned one new skill every week. No rush, no noise, no complaints. 5 years later, he became the first in his family to earn a PhD. And the real achievement wasn't the degree, it was the person discipline shaped him into: calm, strong, and intentional. If you find yourself starting and giving up again and again, stop searching for motivation. Build a system. Create small daily plans. Write down your commitments like a contract. And if needed, share them with a trusted friend, not as a supervisor, but as a mirror to remind you of the promise you made and forgot. Discipline isn't a chain. It's a key. It doesn't imprison you, it frees you from the loop of procrastination and regret. It is the backbone of lasting transformation, the foundation for a life that doesn't depend on luck. You want to change your life? Don't wait for the perfect moment. Act, repeat, and stay true. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for consistency, because at the end of the road, The winner is not the one who bursts with excitement, it's the one who endures. And that can be you if you choose discipline as your companion. 13. The body is the foundation of everything. You may have big ideas, a heart full of feeling, and a fierce desire to change your life. But if your body can't withstand a headache, constant fatigue, or chronic sleep deprivation, those dreams will soon become burdens more than motivation. We often overlook the body as if it's just a sidekick to the mind until it protests through exhaustion, illness, or breakdown. Only then do we realize, without a strong physical foundation, all mental effort becomes limited. Here's a hard truth. You cannot focus if you don't sleep enough. You cannot create if your blood sugar spikes and crashes from inconsistent eating. You cannot stay calm when your heart rate is constantly elevated by unmanaged stress. And you cannot regulate emotions when your body is drowning in inactivity, dehydration, and lack of rest. The mind and body are not separate, they are one. Two sides of a single coin, willpower and vitality. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, "Do not allow your soul to be housed in a lazy body." He wasn't advocating for a perfect physique. He understood that when the body weakens, the spirit follows. Your body doesn't have to be that of a warrior, but it must be respected as your most loyal companion. You don't need to overhaul your entire lifestyle. Just start with something simple. Walk each morning, go to bed an hour earlier, eat one mindful, unhurried meal, drink enough water, take a deep breath when you're tense. These things don't just nourish the body, they send a powerful message to the mind. I am taking care of myself. I matter. Your body isn't something to punish after every mistake. It is the silent foundation that bears the weight of every choice you make. And if you can learn to love it, respect it, restore it, and train it, you won't just be healthier, you'll be more whole. Because every long-lasting journey of growth begins from where your feet are standing. And it is your body that will lift you step by step if you choose to listen to it. I'm not saying these things to you from the position of someone who's figured everything out. I'm speaking to you as someone still learning how to keep promises to myself each morning, still trying to hold on to good habits, even on days I'm exhausted, still learning to forgive myself when I fall behind, but never allowing myself to stop. Because I've lived through years of drifting, letting time slip away like sand through my fingers, and I know the regret of looking back at a day, a week, or even a year, not lived in alignment with the person I could have become. The only thing that keeps me moving forward isn't motivation, and it isn't luck. It's the decision that however little I will do something today to get closer to who I'm meant to be. And I hope you will too, starting today. If you found this message helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future content. And wherever you're starting from today, remember, as long as you keep moving, you are already on your way to becoming the strongest version of yourself. See you in the next video.